Exercise 6. In this exercise, we're going to go ahead and take a three-dimensional model and construct a quick drawing from it. This is an introductory to drawings, just for a part file. First thing I want you to do is grab the file, and the file is actually located on the Vertani 1 webpage. You go to Part Files up here at the top, and the red column you'll find Exercise 6 part. Click on it, and then it will download it, or you go to File, Download, and then it should show up down in the lower left. You just click on it, and it should open up inside SolidWorks. Okay, from here we're going to start our new drawing. So go to File, New, and select Drawing. Hit OK. Now be aware you have, under Advanced, you have the ability to make custom templates. We get into that more in the Advanced. But for right now, we're just going to select Drawing, hit OK. From here, make sure that this button is checked on, only show standard formats as well as standard sheet size, and that way you should be able to get all these different templates that are there, or formats I should say. In this case, we're going to just look for the A and C landscape and hit OK. But be aware that you can actually browse for additional ones, or you could go to custom sheet and just have a blank sheet. There's different options there. Hit OK. All right, and here we have our drawing. And it automatically detected that we had the exercise 6 part file open. That's fine. You could browse for one if you wanted a different one. You have the ability to hit the next button here, and this allows us to bring in different views. This is rather nice. You can select different configurations if there are any. You could also select multiple views, select from the lists that are down below there, and if you want them shaded, hidden lines removed, wireframe, shaded with edges, the sheet scale, custom scale, things like that. Now, you could also go over here to the right and click on the View Palette. And let me hit this little refresh, or in this case, select Exercise 6. And then we'll see over here it kind of overrides the other options that we just had up earlier. So we could actually see the previews, which is very nice, and we just select what we want. In this case, I'm going to grab the front, drag it in, and it should automatically unfold additional views for us. So there's a top, and then there's a right. And if you want the isometric, you just drag it up at a 45-degree angle. Or you could go back here and grab it and drop it in. Once you get those 4 in, just you click on each one, and then you hit the green check mark to hit OK, the upper right or upper left. And you'll notice the isometric view you can move around just by clicking on the border of each view. See this little border? Very accurately take the tip of your pointer and grab it with the left mouse button depressed, and it should be able to move. Same with these. These, notice, are based off of the master view, which was in this case my front view, and so if you drag the top or the right, it actually stays in alignment with that particular view. So I'll make a little extra room here. Now, one additional thing that we might want to do is you can see that the edges are showing up, the tangent edges where fillets exist. Depending upon what you want here, you could actually change those or turn them off or hide them. Or in this case, what I'm going to do is just show you I could Control Select these views and then right click, and you'll find Tangent Edge with Font or Removed. Select Tangent Edge with Font in this case. That's what I prefer. Depends on your organization. All right, so from here now we have our front, top, and right views and a nice isometric view. We're going to go ahead and we're going to create a section view now. Now for a section view, go to the View Layout tab, and you'll see we have Standard 3 View, Model View. These are very nice. Basically, they're pretty much what we had on the right and the left-hand side earlier. Standard 3 View. You go ahead and you just select which you want there, and you could go ahead and drop in additional views and things like that. I'm going to hit Undo here because I didn't want that. And then you'll also see there's Model View. If you click on Model View, you hit Next, and that brings us back to this area here. We don't need that right now. There's also Projected View. Projected View allows you to select any view and unfold the view off of it just by moving your pointer away from it. So I'm going to hit Escape. And then there's also Auxiliary Views. Auxiliary Views are pretty easy. Just click on them, and you select, like in this case, we have this nice flange here, and we want to unfold a view parallel to that flange. So you just select the edge of the flange and then drag it out, like so. Okay. Now we're running out of space here pretty quick, and so we might want to actually scale down our model. In this case, you'll see scale 1 to 2. Now you can actually change this by going to the Sheet tab in the lower right, or you could right-click on Sheet, but right-click on the Sheet 1 tab there, and you could go to Properties. Now the properties here, you'll see, let's say we wanted to change it to a third scale. You could type in third. You could change it from first angle to third angle, depending upon what part of the world you're working in, and so on and so forth. We're going to go ahead and just hit OK. You could also change the sheet size and as well as the format. There, we made a little bit more room. Okay. Also, you could be aware you can squeeze these down. You can even hide it if you want. It goes against ANSI standards though. So let's go ahead and now let's bring in a section view here. So the next tool up here under View Layout is Section View. It's very easy to use. Notice you have cutting line, you have vertical or horizontal, you have auxiliary, and then there's also line. In this case, we're just going to look at the horizontal, and you just notice that it very easily snaps to the center. In this case, we have a concentric center, so it's perfect for our needs. We just click in the center, hit the green check mark, and drag off our section view. Now, if you wanted to, we could actually flip that by double-clicking on this arrow line here, and then you get these hashed marks inside here. Whenever you see that, you have to hit rebuild. That means that the view needs to be updated. And there you can see it flipped it. The other option is here. There's flip direction there. You can change the label from A to B to C, whichever one. You can change the font for that label. There's also partial sections, display on surface cuts, and so on. Partial sections would be like, for example, if I only had the cut through to the center, to the outer edge, and I just want to show that little segment. So there's options like that. Also, auto hatching changes the hatch pattern per part, especially if you have an assembly or a series of bodies. Display only surface faces. See what that does. Remove the back faces. Okay. All right. Now from here, what I want to do is just show you a couple of additional items. See the crosshatch. If you're not happy with the crosshatch, you just simply click on it on the segment that you're interested in changing. One of the little lines there. You see it selects that whole area. And then over here, you can turn off. Turn off material crosshatch, and you can select from hatch to solid to none. Now let me just change it to solid just so you can see these. So for example, you could select component, you can select that particular region, okay, and then it just updates that. Or you could select the entire view, okay, or there's a body, so because you can have multiple bodies too, which I don't have here. Okay, also you could select from the library of different types of materials. So let's say we wanted dots, or in this case, there's a bunch of different options, standard, non-standard. I'll go with honeycomb here. And then if I want to adjust the scale, I could just increase it, like so. I could adjust the angle. And let's go ahead and hit the green check mark. The next type of view I'd like to show is the detail view. So we're just going across here, the detail view, just select it. Move your pointer to the center of this region here and click and drag on a circle to envelop just that area. Now, right away, as soon as you click, you'll get a little section view, a detail view. Just click to drop the detail view, and it drops in and automatically set inside your options to scale it to the proper size, or to twice the size. So in this case, 2 to 3, because before it was 1 to 3. You could adjust that. These are intelligent. If you double click on this and you say you could go ahead and type in 1 to 1. Just click off of it. It'll automatically scale it for you. So it's an intelligent note. Also on the left hand side, you have some additional options. Select that view again. If you select the view, you have the options of going per standard or broken circle or with leader. See, it changes this to a leader there. And go back here. And there's also connected or no leader, whichever you prefer. All right, moving along. the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take a look at, we're going to skip broken out section. We'll just go to break and we'll try a crop as well. And alternate position is great for assemblies, which we don't have an assembly here, so I can't display that just yet. Now let's say you design flagpoles for a living. And flagpoles are very long, can't fit on a sheet, so that's what the break is for. So if you go to break, and again, this is not the best example, you just select view, click where you want the break to take place, and it automatically truncates it, squeezes it down. You have a small library of zigzag, curve cut, straight cut, or a small zigzag. Curve cut, you can change it to horizontal, change the gap size. Again, if you had a flagpole, you could fit it on here. The nice thing about it, when you go to dimension the edges there, it should automatically give you the proper size, not the truncated size that you're seeing there. Okay, as far as the next type of view I'd like to show you here, you need to use a sketcher here. Go to sketch, and you could use pretty much any of the tools here. And I'm just going to kind of make a squiggly line here for the crop. Okay, once that's selected, go back to View Layout and go to Crop View. And it should cut out all the geometry around it. Again, I'm going against the standards there, but I was just trying to give you perspective. Okay, so there we have most of the views that you can create inside SolidWorks. There's some additional ones in there, but we'll get to those in more of the advanced areas there. Now the next section is, let's go ahead and take a look at the template here. Say we want to edit the template. We're going to write, like for example, we see exercise 6 is listed there. Unfortunately, it's overlapping. The way to get into this, notice you can't click on it anywhere. If you right-click away from any of the views, you should be able to see Edit Sheet Format. You could also get this from right-clicking over here on Sheet 1, Edit Sheet Format. So the tab will do it very easily. Notice that everything disappears. And in the book, if you were to look at it, I talk about like an imaginary sheet of glass that's holding your drawing views, and it's overlapping the template. We just took that imaginary sheet of glass off so we could actually edit the template. We could just simply go in here, we could double click, and we could change a different size for the font so it fits better. We could change the color of the font, make it bold and italicized, and even choose a different font. You could also go in here and add additional, like for example, let's say you're making a title block. Now SolidWorks has automated title blocks, not title blocks, revision blocks, but you can add them in manually as well if you wanted to. And again, use the sketch tools here. Let's just take a rectangle, or you can take the line tool and sketch them out. And then you can use all the patterns and all types of fun stuff if you really wanted to create this. Break it up a little bit here. And then you could go and use the note tool under Annotations, note, and put in your notes, so on and so forth. You could also do this. You could right click on any of the geometry and you could select chain. Now what we're looking for in the lower left corner, you may or may not have this on. It's the line format. If you don't have it on, right click in this gray area up here at the top and then just find line format right here on the list, turn it on. Now you'll have access to it. It should show up usually in the lower left here. But inside here you have layer settings, line color, line thickness, line style, hide show edges, color display mode. We're going to go with line thickness first, and notice we have all these selected, so we'll go with a thicker border. And then we could, while it's still selected, we go to line color, and we could choose a different color. So for example, if we want it to be red, or I'll go with like a purplish magenta, just so you can see this a little bit better. There we go, and I click off of it, and it should automatically update. So line format's a very nice little tool to have up for customization like that. Now when you're done editing this sheet, you could either just click up here in the upper right corner on that little sheet. That will take you back to the imaginary sheet of glass with the drawing views on, or you could right click in the center and there's Edit Sheet, or you could right click on Sheet 1 and there's edit sheet. So there's all these different options to get out of it. And there we go. Back on track. Okay, now let's take a look at some detailing here. Move this out of the way. If we want to add some dimensions, if you go to Smart Dimension, underneath Smart Dimension you have your horizontal, vertical, ordnance, baseline ordnance, all those fun things, chamfer dimensions to choose from. We're just going to use Smart Dimension for right now. Most of you already know how to dimension. You just click on edges or points and then you click to drop them off. Now, over here on the left, you have the options to add parentheses for reference dimensions, or center the dimension, or inspection dimensions, and things like that. And also offset. You could add additional notes by typing them in, or whatever you want. Okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through that because over the past several weeks we've been doing that to part files. Now, any notes you drop into part files can be carried over as well, which we're going to see in a moment. But here's what we want to do. We want to actually try and take the dimensions from the model. And so to do that, right next to Smart Dimension, there's Model Items. Click on Model Items. And we're going to go ahead and so we have Selected Feature or Entire Model. We'll keep it with Selected Feature. If you do an entire model, you get a cluster of dimensions that appear. You have to kind of filter through them. And it's a little bit more time consuming than just kind of taking small chunks. And over here you have marked for drawing or not marked, just in case you have a detailer who might be using those options. You might want to turn them on or off. There's also whole callouts and all types of annotations that might have been added, like weld symbols and surface finish symbols. They could have been added by the person who made the model. So you could bring all those up. There's also reference geometry like surfaces if you want to see those, or any other things like planes. We're going to leave all those off. And all you do is you just select what you want to see. So in this case, I just clicked on the surface of this extrude, and we get a lot of dimensions that appear. That's because these were all put in on that particular view, on that orientation, on the front view. And whoever created this went ahead and they probably did, it looks like they did a revolve feature and drew them all in and laid them out nicely to some extent. They're not too bad. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit the green check mark. If you don't like the way these are turning out, if they're too big or too small, remember you could always go to the options menu at the top here. Now with the options menu, you go to the document properties, you can set the standards. So if you want ISO, ANSI, DAS, JN, Ghost, you could also go to annotations. And for example, if you go to annotations, the standard annotation font can be selected here. And so for example, let's say I want Arial as my font here. Get there. Actually, I'll go with arrow. Okay, and then from there you can put it in the height in units or points. Let's say I wanted to go with 10 points. You could go with regular, italicized, bold. Hit OK. All right. Now also there's dimensions. They have their own font as well, so be aware you have to click on the dimension font there, and you could do the same thing. Let's say we choose a different one here. We'll go with it again. And once again, we'll just set it to 10 points. Hit OK. Also, your arrowheads and the leader length and things could be adjusted here. If you don't like what you see on the screen, just adjust those, make them smaller or larger. If you want to see your tolerance display and the primary precision, all these things could be adjusted. How many decimal places do you want to see, so on and so forth. You could also do that under units too. And so here we can set it to 3 decimal places. Hit OK. There we go. Should have updated most of these. Okay. Now, if you don't have enough space, again, we could make some additional room here. Drag some things out. Now, here's the thing. Some of these dimensions might actually be better off if they're in a different view. So, for example, these dimensions might be better off on this view. It's really easy. Actually, just if you hold the Shift key and grab them, drag them in. Then you can see here, you can drop them in. When you go to leaders, you have the ability to display as a diameter dimension. And so you can go ahead and take with that with radius or diameter, horizontal dimensions, and so on. I'll do that one more time. Shift and just drag it in. You could drag multiple dimensions in as well. Okay, again, I'm not going to follow the standards here. I'm just kind of throwing things around. When you do have some of these nice options. You saw that pop up just a second ago. That enables you to go ahead and modify the dimension. Cancel that. Okay, let's bring some of these others up, like this 0.125 and the 17. I can hold Control, select them both, and Shift, drag them up. Again, they're in this case, the section view. You'll also notice these little arrowheads. You could drag these in to adjust leader lengths. Now, if you want to add center lines and center marks under Annotations, you could go to center line. In this case, you could actually select the geometry on the outer edges and get the center. In this case, it came up incorrect. I'm going to cancel that and do it. I'm just going to go from the bottom. These edges right here. Okay, and unfortunately, because there's a leader that's displayed there, it's not seeing it. Okay, now when we have, get out of center line here, we have issues like what we're seeing here, where we have the radius of 0.25. Let's say we want to see that arrow on the inside. You can click on the arrow, the little dots on the arrow, just like that. Again, you could squeeze that down into there. There's also, when you click on those, if you go leaders, you have the ability to dimension to inside of arc, turn that off if you want to dimension the outside. There's a lot of different options in here. Okay, let me just clean some of these up. Now, I'm just going to remove some of these just so we can see the next one. All right, if we're going to add some dimensions on here, for example, we want to add a new type of dimension here, the vertical ordinates. Click on vertical ordinate underneath this little arrow here, and just select, you can select any edge, and that brings it to the 0. Now, every other edge that you zoom up and select, now be careful, don't select the center marks. They don't always do a very good job. Sometimes the edges are better. You'll see what's happening here as I'm clicking on these is it's creating the ordinates off of the 0. Now just be careful if you hit escape here and then you want to add some additional ordinates. If you forgot to do that, remember, if you go back to vertical ordinate, if you click on this edge, it starts off at 0 again. So the best way to update that is you just right click on any of those ordinate dimensions that are already existing, and you'll find add to ordinate. This way you could go ahead and add to it, and continues on. Now sometimes you might want to have a jog or dog-leg feature where these are a little too close or overlapping. You can actually do that here. You can select it, and if you go, if you right click actually, you'll see display options and you have jog. You can create what some call the dog-leg feature or whatnot. Okay, some of the other neat things you could do here with this little line format area. Let's say we want to change some of the colors of these edges. You could select them, and again, you can change the line thickness, you can change the line style, the line color. Let's say I want it to be orange. Hit OK. There they are. So any of those you could change. Sometimes there's edges you don't want to see. You could right click on them, and there's actually hide or show edges. You can hide or show those. Moving along, some additional tools for looking here. There's the Note tool. You could go ahead and click on Note. With the Note tool, you could actually copy and paste whole paragraphs from like Microsoft Word. You could actually insert a Microsoft Word document as well, or Excel spreadsheet into here. That's more advanced. We're not going to do that just yet, but it's usually just under Insert Object. Okay, also, you'll see here, let's go ahead and put in our Note. Okay, there's nothing really mysterious about anything there with the notes, but then you also have balloons and meters and all types of fun stuff. Let's take a look at the surface finish symbol. Let's select that. Over here on the left, you can put in any sort of parameters that you want to see, like JS machine required. Again, your tolerances, and also here we have the ability to have things rest perpendicular or at an angle. So if you click on this, you see that it automatically puts that in. Okay, and we could adjust the angle as well. You could have them with leaders too. Now, another area I wanted to show you is if you're, rather than deleting these dimensions that come up, you could double click on them and you are actually able to change them and they will update the model. That's one of the nice benefits of using under annotations the model items. The drawback is you might not want whoever's detailing this to have access to changing those dimensions, which can be shut off or disabled. But here's a nice option too. If you go to View and you'll see Hide Show Annotations, you select the view here, you could click on annotations that you don't want to see or dimensions, and it turns them gray temporarily. Now once I hit Escape, it disappears. But if I ever want to go back, versus if I click on it and hit Delete, they disappear forever. Versus here, when you do that option I just showed you, the Hide Show Dimensions, you go back to View and Hide and Show, I should say Annotations, and it comes back as gray, and you could click on it to reactivate it. Now for your tolerance display, if you select one of these, over here on the left, you'll see there's the tolerance. You can basic, bilateral, limit, symmetric, pneumatic. So let's go with bilateral, and then we can plug in the additional numbers here, plus or minus, precision, and if you want to increase the decimal places on those, you can. Space again, so move it over. Now the weld symbols are up there as well. You can go to Weld Symbols and then plug in any types of additional things you want. So let's say we want a fillet or V-butt with root. All those things are there. Okay. Put in your dimensions or precision, and then you just go ahead and you select where you want to drop it. In this case, of course, this is just to show you that you can drop it in. Okay. And then it remembers it there. Okay, some additional things you could do. If you wanted to, you could insert an object or a picture. So for example, if you go to Object, you'd be able to select a Microsoft Word document, pictures, you could drop in photo-rendered images and things like that, and drop them in, do all types of fun things. Okay, there's many more options. There's blocks, there's datum. We'll do a quick datum feature here. You can select edges, and then you just drop them off. They do also align themselves. Oops, wrong edge. And you could just drop those in. There's also geometric dimension intolerancing. If you select this, you have the ability to go in, select your symbol, and put in any other parameters that you might want. Hit OK, and you see that they drop in, and they do provide you with a leader. Oops. Sometimes it's a little challenging to grab that leader. You can drop it on the edge. Now let's say you wanted to actually add that to a dimension. You could just grab and drag it to a dimension and it will snap to it. So like for example, drop it in there. Now it's an integral part of that dimension. Let's just flip that. That little dot there allows you to flip it and reverse it. And when you want to print this out, you can just go to print and select your printer. You have there's some options in there to change it from black and white to color, grayscale, things like that. And that pretty much concludes this exercise.